non entra da prima sono dolori.
La presenza agonistica di Sara Errani.
C'è l'italiano storico questo incontro.
Match point Nadal.
Games and match. Federer.
Hello tennis fans, this is MTO, your favorite podcast, bringing you views from 3 different countries on your favorite sport, tennis. As you probably would have seen already, well, we've got finally the new logo. I would say thank you to Bob, or better known as Bobito, who's made this amazing cartoon. This is as banner, and I found it amazing, and I really want to hear what you think about it. So comment it on this YouTube page. I think we should get it started. So 3, 2, 1.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everyone. I mean, like, we're getting close to, it's winter holidays. It's time to talk about the off-season. I mean, like, I would talk about snow, but you probably are not interested in that. Maybe Renee is.
I am. So interested in snow, always. All the time.
I like snow.
We don't have any here yet. So annoying.
I love it unless I actually have to go out in it, and then I live in a narrow road and I'm right at the bottom, and then I've got to wait for like everybody else to try and make their way up the road before I try.
You should get a ski lift installed or something.
I already have people like raising their eyebrows at me because I have electric gates, but like they get well and truly screwed in the snow. Like the first time I had them, the snow was really thick, so I chipped away a fair bit, and like the gates were opening and closing, which I thought was hilarious, until smoke started to rise out from the motors. And then I thought, actually, this isn't really as funny as it started out. So yeah, but they are nice electric gates.
I just leave for the winter season, so I'm probably the back ship, but no, seriously, I would just go with a quick hit and go 30 seconds each. How would you describe in 30 seconds the ATP season? And I start with Ross.
The ATP season, I think, was long live the old guard and what happened to the Lost Boys. That's how I'd sum the ATP season up.
Oh wow, that was much faster than 30 seconds. Good job. I like it. Let's go and bounce to Diego. What do you think
About the ATP season?
Yep.
I don't know, because there is Djokovic and there is someone else. I mean, there is one tennis player is a dominant figure of the tennis at the moment. He won almost every tournament in which he played. How many seconds I have still?
Probably a few.
No, it's on your own time when you're asking.
That's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, time's up. It's no problem. No, joking. Come on, finish.
No, well, I almost finished. Probably I have to reset everything and say something with a bit of sense at the moment. No, well, I can't say too much because Djokovic won almost every tournament, every important tournament. He won. He lacked just the Roland Garros. He failed just at Roland Garros when he found in Wawrinka someone who is more inspired on that day.
Yeah, true. Well, since I don't want to hear Renee saying just, Djokovic won it all, would you say, Renee, that Djokovic or Serena was closer to make the calendar year Grand Slam?
Serena was closer, obviously, because she won 3 in a row and Djokovic did not win 3 in a row, so that sort of pressure was out of the gate from the beginning.
Yeah, no.
Because there's difference between winning the first 3 in a row and going to New York with the first 3 under your belt, and losing one of the first 3 but winning 3 in a year. So Serena was closer to it than Djokovic was. Yeah, after the French Open.
Yeah. Yeah, I also
that
think
make
the same.
sense? To
Yeah,
me, it
no,
does.
yeah, it does. I mean, like, yeah, because sometimes, you look backwards and you feel like, well, yeah, he reached the final and the only one he didn't win, but I definitely see your point and actually agree with it. What the other two think?
Yeah, I was going to say, does that really count though? Because he made the finals of all of them. He just fell at Roland Garros, whereas Serena, I think, to me, looked like she really struggled with that expectation. No matter what she says in that press conference that lasted for as long as it took to sit down and then stand up again, it really, the pressure really got to her. And take nothing away from Vinci, she is a tricky customer at times. She slices and she dices and she juliennes and does all kinds of clever stuff. It's just she's not always been that consistent. So she really had the measure of a nervy Serena, and a nervy Serena is beatable by anybody really. So I don't know. I would have said actually that Djokovic had got closer, but I take on board the point that Serena did it 3 in a row, and that's probably a lot harder to maintain that level of consistency, especially when you consider she was coughing her guts up at Roland Garros, wasn't it? She was like physically sick.
And Australia too.
Yeah.
And Australia, yeah. So yeah, I'll give Renee that one.
I don't know, because at the same time Djokovic won against Nadal in Paris. So maybe this time when he played in the final, he faced Wawrinka instead of Nadal, and maybe we could think that it could be easier,
I definitely think there was an element of perhaps complacency there, that perhaps this was going to be an easier ask to get Roland Garros, and I think given that Wawrinka's sort of big, a couple of his big titles, I think he underestimated Wawrinka that day.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I think so.
don't think he did.
I think Wawrinka played out of his skin, but he also knew how to win a slam, which is a psychological plus. But I also think that many people, many Djokovic fans for sure, thought that this was going to be a romp, and
Yeah.
and I don't know, just at the back of my mind, don't get me wrong, I love Djokovic, but just at the back of my mind, I think that maybe the psychological pressure of beating Nadal on clay at Roland Garros, once he'd done that, he probably thought that was the hardest part.
I also think you have to realize that Djokovic won the first set, and maybe it's unusual to him to lose a final after winning the first set, because he is strong mentally. And
Yeah, I think like maybe it could be seen, the other way around. Most of the time the underdogs say I've got nothing to lose. We always say like that's not true, but maybe in that time Wawrinka was in that position, so he could just bang his backhand and forehand as much as he wanted, because you are in the final against world number one. It's just beaten Nadal, so you feel like, well, I've got nothing to lose at that moment, and then started working. So that could also be seen this way.
And it's also worked for him a couple of times before the French Open, so it's not like he went up against Djokovic thinking, oh, I've never really played this guy in best of 5 over the past 2 years, and I've never had a shot against him.
Yep.
I mean, he took him to very late to 5 sets 2 times in Australia this year too, but this year's match between Djokovic and Wawrinka in Australia was absolutely terrible. So, yeah.
Well, speaking on the ATPs, basically today's news. And what do you think of Federer changing coach?
I was really surprised. It's interesting actually. Before I came on here, I just looked at BritWatch's poll. I did a cheeky little poll this morning, and not one person thinks that Ljubicic is going to take him to an 18th Grand Slam. I'm genuinely surprised. I really thought, I know that it was a 1 year plus 1 year deal, but I don't know. Maybe he sees something in Ivan Ljubicic that we don't. But it baffles me.
Well, I think Federer needs at this time. Federer needs someone who is friend like Ivan, because Ivan is also a smart person. It was a good tennis player, and I don't know from what year, but he and Federer are very good friends. So maybe Federer wants someone who travel the world with him and be with the same ideas.
The one thing that I'm a bit where I don't know where this is going to go for Federer, or at least in terms of Ljubicic being a coach, are some of the things that I heard Ljubicic say when he was working with Raonic, where people were addressing that Raonic's return of serve, at least like 18 months ago or something like that, when they were still addressing that Raonic's return of serve wasn't that great, that he had obvious holes and gaps in his game, and Ljubicic said, "No, we're probably just going to continue to work with Milos's strengths rather than address the weaknesses too much." And I'm not really sure how that is going to go down, or if that is a coaching mantra that I really support or really like. But obviously, working with Milos at this stage of his career is something completely different than working with Federer at this stage of his career. So I'm sort of hesitant to say that he's going to take him to another slam or not, but I actually think that Federer could play the next year just with Severin Luthi, and he'd probably have a similar year to this one on the whole. So I'm not sure whether Ljubicic is going to add anything or not.
Well, I can tell you, Ljubicic works often for Italian TV, for Sky, so I've heard quite a lot about him commentating and, doing this technical boards between matches and stuff. So basically he does what Muratoglu does for Eurosport, just to make it clear. And I think most people think that, if you're a good athlete, you got the eye for these things, but it's not necessarily true. He's got it. So from that part, that's pretty good. But yeah, as you say, he's got just 1 year experience basically with Raonic, so it's hard to say what he can really add. But you never know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I veer with Diego that, right now, realistically, what is there that anybody can really teach Federer? I mean, even this sneak attack by Roger nonsense, which was just a variation on good old-fashioned chip and charge, that was just him deciding to mix things up. I don't. He might have introduced a little bit more serve and volley, but to be honest with you, there's enough people that can come off the baseline that can probably match it. The only person that seemed to rattle was Djokovic in Cincinnati. I don't know. But then next year, I think he's focusing on Rio. So,
Yeah.
He also will be 35 years old, so it's very difficult for him to learn something new. To learn to play in a different way. Yeah.
Well, Rio, we got the rumor that Roger's going to play with Hingis. What do you take on that?
I don't believe it until I see it on paper, or until I see either party confirm it.
Yeah,
I'm not buying into it until I see it on paper.
Yeah, I didn't think it been confirmed, so I was quite surprised to see so many people suddenly jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, no, same. It's just curiosity what you think. I mean, let's be honest, in the past, couple of Olympic editions, tennis has taken on the Olympics more and more seriously, so it feels like next year is going to be the year of the Olympics, so that's going to take lots of focus, and that's why probably all this kind of news are spreading everywhere.
And also because I think there's so many players in the twilight area, like big names are in the twilight area of their careers, that Rio has been set as a bit of a finish line for a lot of players, where many of us, I think, whether that is fans, media, writers, and so on and so forth, where many people think, okay, so who is going to step away from the game after Rio? And I think there are quite a number of people who are in the running for that, where you think, hey, is Venus really going to pick up her racket again in 2017? Is I don't know, Federer's already signed contracts for 2017, so he's probably going to continue playing. But yeah, there are a number of big names where you think, okay, is this going to be their last season in their career? So that is also, I think, a big talking point.
Well, not big name as in general, but she's been the name of the summer probably. But Vinci has confirmed that she's going to stop after next year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I know that Federer's obviously committed to. Is it Stuttgart? He's committed to doing twice.
Yeah, Stuttgart.
Yeah, and I think I know that he said in the past, I'm not going to do any of these like farewell tours. But I do wonder whether 2017 is just going to be his last. He'll do it on his terms. He'll play that whole year out and then call it quits.
Yeah, I mean, in Basel, he said, "Oh, maybe I'll play until 2018." That sounds like a good number. I genuinely do think that he's going to play for as long as it seems, as he feels he's competitive, and for as long as his body holds up. This year, it's held up well, but he's had years like 2013 when his back has been played spoiler for large parts of the year, and I think if he has another one of those years where he feels that his body is not really holding up anymore, then he's going to be pretty straightforward about it in the way that he often is with things, and say, hey, do you know what? It's been a fun ride. Even if I don't get to 18, it's been good. See you later. Bye.
well, he's in the position he can basically do whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sensible, I think. Staying more on this subject of next year, who do you say behind the two big names on the two tours? I mean, Muratoglu said that next year is going to be the year that Serena does the Golden Slam. What's your take on that?
Wow.
Oh, Patrick.
If the mastermind says it, then it must be true, right?
I'd like to think that it was possible, but I think that this year was probably her best shot at it. But then that kind of bleeds into what we want to see for next year, and I suspect that we are going to see a shift on the women's game anyway. I think we're going to see a shift at the top. I think the time is right for somebody to come through. I mean, it was lovely to watch Radwanska win the championships, but it was so funny because there was a fantastic photo that was taken where it honestly looks like she's holding it for somebody else. She's got this bemused look on her face and she's holding the trophy like, yeah, someone's going to come along and take this in a minute. I mean, even in the press, she looked like a stunned mullet for a good 5 minutes before she finally cracked a smile and was like, "Oh yeah, hey, I won this." But hopefully, Maresmo was number one and won the year-end championship, and then went on to win 2 slams. So I would love it to be Arga's year. I think if she's going to do anything, she'll do it at Wimbledon. And Serena isn't immune at Wimbledon. And I'd love to see Muguruza and Halep finally do something. I say finally because this year there was much promise, but Halep in particular needs to deliver next year.
Yeah, I have a feeling for Halep that Australian Open is going to be her biggest chance, and I know lots of people say she's always done not very well down there, but the hard courts are definitely a best surface, and playing a little bit quicker and early in the season she might have a little less attention on her, so probably Australian is the biggest shot for her.
I'm curious to see who's going to emerge out of the rubble because to me, behind Serena, it's still a really packed and close field. It's been a pretty chaotic year to me, which I found very entertaining. Okay, there's Serena obviously at the top, but behind Serena it's been really close. And there are a good 12 or 13 women I can see making a final, and should Serena not be in that final, obviously win a slam next year. I wouldn't be surprised, for example, if Ivanovic makes another final out of nothing, if Shafarova makes another final, who knows, if Kuznetsova makes another run at the French Open. You genuinely you genuinely don't know. And I've sort of started to step away from making predictions because I'm going to get it wrong anyways. I'm just going to mess it up no matter what I say. So I hope there's going to be a bit more of like not stability, but less of the draws falling apart as quickly as they do. I like my upsets. I like having a breakout story in a slam or in a big tournament, but there've been a lot of flame outs, especially for some of the big names. Looking at Halep at the French Open or Wimbledon, that was a shame for her. I think in both tournaments, and just if we can get a few, get those shrunk down to just a couple of names dropping out early here and there, to pave way for some upsets, that would be okay. But I'm looking forward to next year. I think it could be a bit more open than this year at least.
Well, I think I also think that Muguruza and Alep could be the biggest surprise of 2016. Maybe I'm looking for a big surprise at Roland Garros, because yes, in 2014 Serena was beaten by Muguruza 6-2, 6-2. This year she won the tournament, but she had a great problem. And as Rene said, without Serena is a more open competition. Well, is it correct?
Yeah. I mean, like,
okay, sorry.
Let's be honest. I mean, like, there's no real clay courts left that are competitive at the very top. I mean, you got Suarez Navarro's got like the highest ranked.
And this year in Paris, we were very close to a Grand Slam final between Timea Baczynski and Lucy Safarova.
Oh my God, it would have been so amazing. I would have watched that. I nearly cancelled a birthday.
Me too. Me too. I will be really happy.
Shapovalov match, but I would have genuinely cancelled it for Baczynski Shapovalov, because that would have been hilarious.
I really would be very
obviously.
Happy.
Not that either woman is hilarious.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like, as you guys have said, there's been, so many players that came out last year and done great. Shafarov was one of them, Baczynski again, then, of course, Vinci, Panetta. But, I mean, throughout the year, there have been so many players. Probably, what do you think about Bencic, now that we're talking about young guns?
I think we have to look at her, but during the grass season. Maybe she has the biggest shot in that period of the year.
Yeah, I watched her. I was at Eastbourne when she made her run to the final, and I'm pretty sure that Aga thought she had it in the bag. And she unravelled quite spectacularly. And Bencic, I asked her a couple of times, where did the Swiss get so good at grass? Because I don't know, because the only place we've got it is on the mountains where the goats are. Okay, so but. I think she's got a long way to go, but I would rather see somebody like Bencic come along, or even Muguruza. They've got personality as well, and they're genuinely lovely players to be around. I'd rather see a success for them, or even a Halep, who frustrated me a bit this year because all she did was talk about it's okay, I've screwed up, but I'm fine about this, and I'm going to be, that's great, and I'm really happy that you're happy, but you need to get some results because you've got to capitalise on that breakthrough. I think the less we say about Bouchard, the better, because I can't see her ever living up to that hype. I'd like to see someone like Keys living up to the great start that she made at the start of the year. And it'd be interesting with her coaching change whether that's going to give her a more focus.
I think Keys
she changed the coach. Keys, sorry.
Yeah, she's not with Davenport anymore.
Yep. Well, I pick up from that Bouchard reference you throw in there, Ross, because on my bullet points I had talking about the flops of the season. So, how better to get it done with Janine?
Okay. On the one hand, I wouldn't wish what happened to her allegedly on anybody, and what was frustrating, I think, was that she was actually finally beginning to get a string of decent sort of results under her belt when whatever it was happened. Where I lose sympathy, and I think if you look at the lack of Twitter engagement after her solicitor was like, we're going to make millions, rubs hands with glee. I think, I still think that she's a troubled little soul, and unfortunately, while she's got all this other stuff that's swirling around her, it all serves as a distraction to her tennis, and her tennis is very much like Raonic's in that they don't have a plan B. So if plan A, which is hit the ball as hard as you can and hope that you hit through the person, doesn't work, and the ball comes back with variety, there isn't a plan B. She hasn't got that variety to really throw in there. And I think maybe if she stopped trying to earn millions on potentially lost savings and actually focused on getting back to fitness and finding what made her love the game in the first place, then maybe we'd see some good results. But unfortunately, she's being overshadowed, rightly so, by players who have charm and who have a hunger to actually just play and do well at the game. And that's what it takes.
Guys, any other take on that? She said I would say everything, but
I'm struggling to really pick an actual flop of the year. In a way, I think Bouchard sure she has to be she's probably the one that is the most obvious pick for that in a way. But the thing is with Bouchard, I think we all kind of saw it coming last year when she was posting pictures of her coach being the ball machine in December. So we all thought, ooh, girl, you're in trouble. But yeah, I don't know. With regards to other players, I think that, for example, Cornet, weirdly enough, I thought had a pretty shoddy season.
Well, I tell you what, we shortlisted 4 names for a poll in Italian website, and we shortlisted Cornet, Jani, who won it hands down, but yeah, and Ivanovic, because even though she made the semis,
Anna definitely belongs in there. Saved by the bell, aka Roland Garros and Beijing runs, because otherwise, not a lot to shout home about.
And Wozniacki. So
Caro. I'll actually go with Wozniacki. I'll go with Wozniacki out of those.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Caro actually, because she had.
I don't.
Oh no! Hang on a minute. I mean, she had that awful rubbish that was going on last summer, and then really just turned around that season. And again, she's one of she doesn't frustrate me quite as much as Halep, because I find Halep genuinely a nicer character to be around. But I did think that this was where Wozniacki was really going to kick on and actually do something. And I was quite surprised at the sort of meekness of her second US Open loss at the end of the year. And I can't help wondering whether that actually was a trigger for a kind of lackluster year. Although I still think my funniest moment was her and Azarenka both teaming up. That poor hapless umpire with the terrible call, and both giggling at each other, having a go at him. That was one of my favourite pieces when Azarenka chimed in and she was like.
No, but overall for me, the thing is, the one thing that I found incredibly frustrating about Wozniacki's year is, sure, you had a couple of tough draws. You seemed to draw Azarenka every other week, and she had your number, and she dialed it hard all 2015 long. But there's also a bit of a part to it where you're like, okay, if you lose to someone as often as that within a time span of 4 or 5 months, you should just start thinking about, hey, what do I have to do in order to maybe overcome that person, to play differently? And I didn't really see any of that between the Australian Open and when did they play again, for example, in Rome. Not that clay is Wozniacki's best surface to begin with.
But there are players like that. I mean, Sharapova came into press at Wimbledon after losing to Serena, and even though people are trying to find a nice way of saying, what are you going? You're going to have to change your game to try and beat her. And she was just like, well, you're not going to see me do this. It's like, but why not? You need to do something. You have to do something. Otherwise, you are going to be Serena's bunny for the rest of your career. And I just
Yes,
want.
true, but
Go on.
yeah, but the thing is for me, like even if you take the Azarenka losses out of the equation, I think she's had a relatively poor first half of the year in terms of the actual level that she played, with the weird exception of Stuttgart. I still don't know what was going on there. I was just like, why do you randomly start playing great tennis on clay and then you just drop off again, like you fall off of a cliff in a way? That was just that I found that really confusing and weird. And then she was injured for pretty much the entire US Open hardcourt series, and she played every tournament. And then she moaned about, oh, the WTA is going to fine me if I withdraw from Stanford. Well, if you can't really move, turn up there, okay, but just say, hey, I'm going to do my tournament commitments, but I'm not going to play. And then she goes and picks up a wild card in New Haven, and then she moans about the schedule again. And I'm like, okay, just if you're really injured, if you don't feel well, take the time off. You've earned enough. It's crap. I understand that, but I don't think the fine of, I don't know, I don't even know how much it is, but I don't think the fine is going to be that huge that you can't take off to tournaments and come back at least healthy at the US Open or something like that. I don't get that, and that's why I sort of lost a bit of sympathy for poor Year, because that's where poor scheduling and just somewhat some in a way disregard for injuries, for our own injuries started to kick in, and I'm like, well, sorry, then I can't help you either.
Yeah, I gotta say I've got mixed feelings about her, especially after Linz, because on the personal level she's been extremely nice to everyone in Linz. As you could see that she really cared about being there, which is not the case generally. We remember what happened in Linz last year. So, but you know, once she was the only seed left, basically after day one, apart from Pavlyuchenkova, who then got the title. But yeah, I mean, like she felt probably not the pressure, because you know, winning Linz is not a big deal, but she felt the pressure of being, you know, the face of the tournament. And as soon as she lost, she started like saying she was sorry to everyone, in the press especially, which I found extremely nice, because you know she could have just, you know, walked away and said like nothing. But on the other hand, I agree, and especially didn't like the way she's not honest about her condition, because she was clearly limping. She had problems with knee and stuff, and then you ask her and she's like, no, I'm fine. You know, like, can you just tell us the truth and say you're injured or anything? It doesn't make any difference. But yeah, some mixed feelings about her season, as well as a way of communicating.
Well, I mean, she's usually she's nice to everyone. She's nice and pressed. She unless you ask her about her backhand slice, or something like that. Yeah, but that makes perfect sense in a way. I totally understand that. If you want to everyone's allowed to keep their private life private if they choose it that way. But like not being straight up with injuries and stuff like that, that is a bit difficult, because you try to find an angle in a way to spin it for the player, like say, hey, okay, I think you're not moving well. I think your leg still looks not. You don't look you don't appear to be in the same shape that you maybe used to be at this point last year. Are you feeling 100% physically or not? And as a viewer, she's not 100%. She knows it, and she tells you, "Oh, I'm okay, I'm fine." And then you're like, "Okay, what am I supposed to say now? Am I just supposed to say you're in a run of bad form, but you're clearly injured?" And that's a bit of a problem.
I get that they don't want to let on that they're injured, but I mean, you're right. If you see them literally dragging their leg behind them like a clubfoot special, you know there's something not quite right. But who knows? Who knows?
Well, yeah, we got quite a lot of topics done. I know Renee said no predictions, but I feel like this kind of is the right moment to say something. Can you just pick one surprise for next year? That's make it like not the general yeah, I think Serena's going to win them all and such. Go. Do you expect something surprising next year? Any?
What counts as a surprise, though?
I don't know. You tell us.
Yeah, I do. I do think there's some struggling. I do think we're going to get a first-time Slam winner next year, and for example, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see either Bencic or Pliskova make a run to semi-finals or to finals of a Slam.
Bold.
Solid.
I agree. I think we're going to see a maiden Slam winner. I think it's more likely to come on the women's side than the men's, if I'm being honest. Right now, I would probably go out on a limb and say that Davis Cup glory is probably going to be coursing through Sir Andrew of Murray's veins, and I think he could probably make a good stab at the Australian Open.
But he hasn't beaten anyone of note in Davis Cup.
I don't think that's fair.
Just
I mean,
the general feeling.
But at the end of the day, I think the Belgians were very, very lucky, and I mean they admitted it. They had an amazing run of luck to get to where they were. But I think Britain had to beat all the other Grand Slam nations to get there. But as much as I hate to say it, if it hadn't been for John Isner's collapse against James Ward in that crucial rubber, then the USA probably could have really bloodied their nose. But I don't know. I think Murray can probably pick up a Slam. I think the one that he probably wants is the Australian Open, because he's come so close. And I just don't think that Djokovic's supreme form can. I just don't think that dominance can continue. I could be wrong, but I just think that has just put Murray back on a bit of an even keel with the top players. Okay, my big shocker, I think, and I don't think it's that big a shocker, is I don't think Federer is going to close out his career with another Slam. I don't believe that we're going to see him even challenging much this year, other than maybe the Olympics. I think he might really make a push for that Olympic gold. That's the only thing now that's missing. But on the women's side, I want to see Halep or Muguruza or Radwanska on a trophy. That's what I want to see.
It's my turn, right?
Yep.
Okay. On the men's side, honestly, at the moment, I don't see any kind of surprise incoming for the next year, because I think the distance between Djokovic and the other ones are too high. Yeah. But on the female side, on the WTA, I really would like to see the time of Halep, Simona Halep, but I don't know where she can find the form to win an important tournament as Slam, because I still think about the Australian Open for her, but in 2014 and also in 2015. She was beaten in quarterfinal against Sibulkova, the first one, and Makarova this year. And I remember that in press conference, she said after some weeks, she said that still remind that match as a big nightmare for her. So I really hope for her, but. I don't know. Maybe in the first tournament of the year, it's more probably some good result from Muguruza, for example, or I would like to see also Pliskova, because she has the power, she has the game to do a big result.
No, yeah, I mean, these are all sensible ones. I mean, I just want to point out one thing, that we say, ATP, we haven't got these huge surprises. Maybe Nadal has been a bit of a thing last year, having been beaten by Fognini so many times. But, yeah, I mean, I was in Australia when Seppi beat Federer, and I'm going to tell you, that was my last day because I was flying to Colorado, and I said, I'm going to take an easy match and just, going to report from that one. Of course, then Seppi had to find his best win of his career just out of nowhere. So you see, even these things can happen on the ATP tour. So, but yeah, no, I agree. I think like it's gonna be very tough to see Djokovic losing any time before the semis. So yeah. But I don't think he's going to make the Grand Slam. As Ross said, Murray is taking a big boost of his confidence. I mean, we've seen what happened with the Olympics, and I think that, you know, Davis Cup could work similarly for him. And yeah, no. For WTA, well, you said it all basically. You picked the good names. What can I say? I have huge expectations on Svitolina, but not in 2016. That's a bit too early. But she is probably the one who can make it on clay, just because of lack of competition on the surface. So, but not next year. Definitely not next year. So, yeah. I also think that one thing is to point out that the Olympics kind of break the natural rhythm of the summer.
So much, yeah.
Because they are equally close to Wimbledon and US Open. So someone might want to sacrifice Wimbledon or the US Open in order to peak at the Olympics.
I think they're going to. A lot of people like the US Open could be a bit of a free for all after the Olympics, because no one really sacrifices Wimbledon for anything, because that means sacrificing as good as 5 weeks. But US Open after the Olympics, you've got like a bit of a lead up to the Olympics. I think the US Open could be a bit of a wilder affair after some of the big names have snatched an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, I think Murray's going to be desperate to want to defend that Olympic title. I don't think anybody's actually defended an Olympic title, have they? Like, I'm not aware of anybody that's successfully defended their Olympic title. So
we should check in the 20s, likely. But
oh, well, yeah. I mean, I'm talking about the Open era, I guess. Because whilst I'm old, gentlemen, I'm not that old. So yeah, I think I can't see Murray sacrificing Wimbledon, but I don't see him winning Wimbledon. I see him more likely to win the Australian Open on the back of like this boost of his confidence to and then the Olympics, I think, would be an interesting run for him.
yeah, and yeah, let's also remember that most of the singles player will be playing doubles or mixed doubles because of how the rules are made for the cutoff of the Olympics this year. So yeah, many will try as many chances they have to win a medal. So as you say, US Open, yeah, could be a free for all.
Sorry to jump in. Didn't Graf defend her Olympics?
She might have done. She may well have been the only person.
But I think it's been a bit different in '84. It's not been the same because you've only had under 20-year-olds or something. I don't think it was properly installed until '88. But
I'm not even sure in '84. I'm not even sure '84 was proper game at the Olympics.
That's what I meant. I think it was only
could have been demonstrative. Yeah, could have been demonstrative. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
We apologise for not knowing that. Just saying. We will check
throwing it in there.
Yeah.
It was before I was born, so I'm exempt from all criticism.
Yeah. Same. Can use the same one.
Okay, stop rubbing it in. I'm old. I know.
Well, I will just wrap it up like this and say thanks to everyone and catch up with the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Good stuff.